This podcast is not safe for work and will feature movie spoilers. It will feature scenes described of a graphic nature. It will contain language which most listeners may find offensive. Welcome to the podcast Under the Stairs. Hi everyone and welcome to the podcast Under the Stairs. This is your Sunday Arrow video assortment series of reviews. I'm your host Duncan McLeish. Welcome to the show. Up on this episode we are turning our attention to 33 in the Arrow video assortment, and we're kind of delving back into the world of spaghetti westerns as we do a little movie by the name of Cemetery Without Crosses from 1969. It's our 33rd instalment of the Arrow video assortment, and I'm glad that you're joining your Sunday evening with me for this. Before we get to that, as always, let's catch up with where we are. We are very busy under the stairs. Full prep is underway on the summer series. I am over 50% of shows recorded for that now, and they will be dropping the first week of August, so keep your eyes peeled for that. This is the final episode of what has been a kind of loosey-goosey week, and I'm enjoying it. Next week, though, things are going to get a bit hectic, a bit serious, a bit crammed, if you will, because I'm catching up with a lot of stuff on that Teapots Collective feed. You will be getting a brand new episode of Doing the Nasty dropping tomorrow. That is Monday. By the end of the week, you'll have a brand new episode of Opera Omnia. That is the one from last month, myself and Bo Ransdell talking about a little movie called Zodiac. You'll also be getting Where to Begin With somewhere in the middle of the week, probably towards Thursday, Friday. Catching up with that as well, so it's kind of hectic over there, but we should be all there or thereabouts by the end of the month, which will make me very happy to say the least. For Podcast Under the Stairs, well, I've got a little surprise for you guys tomorrow. Returning after a 14-month hiatus and absence from Podcast Under the Stairs, Andy Loves Art House. We're back talking about brand new British horror movie Censor, which is beautifully set in the time of the Video Nasties, so it feels apt that former co-host from Doing the Nasty, Andy Blockley, come back on and discuss this movie in Andy Loves Art House. That episode is dropping tomorrow. For Thursday next week, ladies and gents, you're getting a little nipple tease, if ever there was one, as the Baz comes back to Podcast Under the Stairs. He'll be doing a little bonus episode on Thursday, basically shooting the shit and catching us up with where he is, what he has been checking out, before he comes back to do a rare impromptu visit as part of our Russian Roulette franchise retro for July, looking at Scream. So yeah, the Baz will be back on the Thursday episode. There is no episodes planned over the weekend, so we will be enjoying some time off while I continue cramming for the summer series recordings. On the Teapots Collective, you have your list of shows. We're going to try and get 3 out this week to catch up, and I'll be happy if we get there, to say the least. That's you all caught up, ladies and gents. We're going to take a very short break. You're going to promos for shows that I love. You're in the trailer for Cemetery Without Crosses. Ooh, we're going to be doing that movie right after this.
Want to learn more about horror directors? With a lighthearted look at 3 of their movies? Meet fearless podcaster Gore Blimey.
I've been unsettled by bats in the past and startled by parrots, and I've even been known to jump at the odd cockatoo.
Discover horror films that are classics, and others, too.
There's a topless aerobics massacre, an exploding rock singer, cannibals, nude martial arts, a deep-fried prostitute.
But it's not all silliness. You'll get proper movie breakdowns, opinion, and background information, too.
Yep, in the 80s and 90s, Jeff Stryker was huge in gay porn. In every sense.
So if you're a horror film fan, come and check out the Trilogy of Terror podcast at strangeanddeadly.com, or find it on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or on your podcatcher.
One of those people that has a certain charisma and a certain style, and I'm just hoping one day he'll rub off on me.
The Trilogy of Terror podcast, where we try 3 times harder to give you the willies.
I seek the man who killed my friend. And when we meet, my life may end. My life depends upon my gun, and my gun spells home in the land with the rope and the konake.
Manuel era solo nel villaggio abbandonato, sperduto in quell'allucinante deserto.
Il gioco è fatto. 21, rosso di
Aveva abbandonato le Colt e viveva di ricordi, ma ora qualcuno aveva deciso per lui.
Lasciatemi!
Eccolo qui, padre.
Nessuno ti conosce da queste parti.
Manuel si era mosso e quando passava Manuel, tutto il West diventava un immenso cimitero senza croci.
Siamo venuti a prendere la ragazza. Manuel, eravamo amici una volta. Non vorrai che la prendiamo con la forza.
Sapeva che in quella sporca faccenda poteva lasciarci la pelle. Era un gioco d'astuzia. Un solo uomo contro 20. Ma c'era di mezzo Maria.
Aiutami.
Ho rinunciato a sparare.
Eppure è stato sempre il tuo mestiere.
Ora non più.
Ricomincia.
Per primo. Doveva premere il grilletto sempre per primo. No, non per sete d'oro o di vendetta. Era qualcosa di più che lo spingeva ad osare, a colpire. Ormai non c'era più tempo. Non c'era tempo per pensare, per vivere. C'era solo tempo per odiare e morire. Una corda era pronta a tendersi, una bara pronta a chiudersi, una 6 colpi pronta a giudicare, un deserto intero pronto a divenire un grande cimitero senza croci.
Welcome back. So you've just heard the trailer for Cemetery Without Crosses. This is currently available on sale on the Arrow website for a measly £8, and this is a movie I would recommend for your collection, specifically if you like westerns. Let me give you the deets as listed on the Arrow video website. You believe in revenge, but I don't. It never ends. Inspired by the international success of the Dollars trilogy and dedicated to director Sergio Leone, Cemeteries Without Crosses offers a Gallic spin on the spaghetti western formula thanks to its star and creator Robert Hossin, best known to English-speaking audiences for his role as Jules Dassin in Rififi. After her husband is lynched by bandits, Michelle Mercer from Mario Bava's Black Sabbath seeks revenge and turns to an old friend played by Hossin for help. A solitary figure who lives in a ghost town and dons a single black glove before each gunfight. Hossin is initially reluctant but soon infiltrates the widow's enemies and forces a showdown. Cemetery Without Crosses is a darker bleed of western, bleak and melancholic in tone amid the explosive set pieces. It also boasts an outstanding score by composer André Hossin, father of Robert, and the catchiest of themes sung by cult figure Scott Walker. Details on the disc are production year of 1969. This is region unlocked, region free, so anyone anywhere in the world can check out the Arrow release of this. It's a UK rating of a 12A. The runtime is an hour and a half. There are 2 discs in here, so it's dual play, so you have both the Blu-ray and the DVD. Language is English and Italian. Subtitles English SDH. We have audio of 1.0 PCM. The aspect ratio is 1:66:1, and it's in full colour. The cast and crew for this one, directed by Robert Hossin, star Michelle Mercer, Robert Hossin, and Guido Lollobrigida. The extras in here are a brand new 2K restoration for the film from the original film elements, original high definition Blu-ray 1080p and standard definition DVD presentations, original Italian and English soundtracks, and uncompressed PCM mono audio, newly translated English subtitles for the Italian soundtrack. You also have optional English subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing for the English soundtrack. Remembering Sergio, an all-new interview with the star and director Robert Hossin, filmed exclusively for this release. French television news report on the film's making, containing interviews with Hossin and actors Michelle Mercer and Sergi Manquad. We also have archival interview with the director himself, the original theatrical trailer, and a reversible sleeve featuring original and newly commissioned artwork. There you go. So, it was a first time watch for me. I've owned this one for ages. And if you've been listening to me kind of go through the last couple of years, you'll know that I wasn't the biggest fan of spaghetti westerns. Obviously the classics I had seen, but I hadn't really wandered far beyond that, and I'm not entirely sure why. And recently doing things like the 88 Films Italian Collection series and the occasional Arrow one that's come in for the Arrow video assortment, I'll be honest, it is a genre I'm acclimating to in a way which pleases me, because I always kind of felt like I should like this. I love the Poliziotteschi movies. I love that goofy Italian genre rip-off sci-fi stuff. I obviously love their giallos. I mean, it kind of felt like I should like spaghetti westerns, and it turns out, wouldn't you know it, I do. So this one is a spaghetti western, but it's a French production. So it's paying homage to a genre that's paying homage to another genre. This is like American westerns by way of Italy, by way of France. I think, according to what I could find out online, this is the only one that is a French production within the canon of the, you know, kind of westerns and European productions. And weirdly, there isn't a whole lot to differentiate. I think cinematography-wise is maybe not as bright as some of the Italian productions, but it's still very much in keeping with what you would expect from the genre. The soundtrack has a lot of flair, has a lot of panache to it, which is once again in keeping with the Italian ones. It's maybe a little bit more upbeat than what you would get in the kind of Italian camp, for sure. I'll tell you what kind of floored me about this one is the lack of script or dialogue in general. Very little in the way of words spoken in this movie. It is minimalist to the point that you can go whole sections of this movie with no one talking. It's an interesting choice because you wouldn't expect in any way, shape or form this to be the norm. You know what I mean? This is not the sort of thing you would generally... I don't know. It's weird. This is not what you would expect the country to be doing in terms of... Like if you're going to be doing a spaghetti western, but in a different part of the world, what you would be doing is essentially mimicking it, which to me means the dialogue, which you're not getting here. You know what I mean? It's so bizarre. It's so bizarre. But I kind of love it. And then added with it's not a particularly overly violent movie either. And I think that kind of floored me a little bit. I think the casting is great. I think the story is simple and effective. I think what you get here is a nice, straightforward a kind of straightforward approach to, I'm seeking revenge, I'm going to go to the loner who's going to help me, and he will wreak vengeance for me. And they do it so well in this movie. It just so happens he's the strong silent type. I also love that. There's a part of me that thinks it's the kind of Django approach to things of, here's our hero but he doesn't say much. He lets his actions do the talking, and I think that works really, really well. I think it's a relatively short movie, like not particularly long at all, and I at first thought that might be an issue, but it's not. What it does do is it keeps the things ticking over at a nice pace. You get plenty of set pieces at the right times, although it's not like that shouldn't work in a movie that has very little dialogue. If anything, I should feel every step, and I don't feel every step as we go along, so I think that works in its favour. I also think the casting, front to back, is clever. We're almost picking people because of how they look, as a kind of counterpoint to how you get in a lot of movies of the time where we're going for, well, he's a leading man or he plays a villain in every single movie, so this is how we do things. I like that. I also really like the idea of our protagonists, home. Like the actual elements of the ghost town is kind of amazing. You get a lot of what I want in a movie like this, in terms of there's the fist fights with the sound effects over the top. We get, kind of awesome, really choreographed gunplay, and there isn't as much blurring of the lines between, our hero and our villain. I think sometimes spaghetti westerns can really push that. To be honest, American westerns do the same. They really push that idea of our hero as almost like an anti-hero, and it's maybe not as clean cut here. I do like the idea that, I can identify the good guys and bad guy with relative ease. And whilst there isn't a ton of gunfights all the way throughout the movie, and I think that may be what puts some people off, I think if you just enjoy the craft of cinema, this is one that operates on a relatively high level, with really good a really good story at its core, really good drama at its core as well, even though it has, like I said before, it has very little in the way of proper dialogue. Much of the respect that I have for this movie actually comes down to Hostin himself, who is not only taking the lead performance in here, but directing and wielding those two with great precision. I think his performance on screen is great, and I think the direction, specifically cinematography, is kind of inspiring. So the fact that he manages to do that makes me kind of like it even more. I don't necessarily think this is a top tier western or spaghetti western by any stretch of the imagination, but it's one of these ones that, had Arrow not put out, I don't know if I would ever have watched this one. It works really, 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 really good, but it's more of a kind of, I have time to sit in silence and just drink in a movie, as opposed to, I want like the balls to the wall action revenge outing that a lot of the kind of a top tier spaghetti westerns bring to audiences. I think overall, like, on this one, you get a great movie. It's a bit light on the special features, if I'm honest, although the kind of exclusive interview with Austin with Arrow Video for the release is worth its weight in gold, because you really start to get a feel for what was going through his head and what he wanted to achieve in this time. Specifically his love and admiration for Sergio Leone and what he was doing in the 60s with his spaghetti westerns. So it's worth that, but everything else is kind of archival stuff that's been out there before, so they aren't really bringing too much new to the plate with this. But it's a handsome release for sure, and one that you should definitely look. £8 on their website at the moment. That's almost a Starbucks coffee, not quite. So yeah, you should throw out some money and get yourself a copy of Cemetery Without Crosses. I would give this one a 3.5 out of 5. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I don't think it's more on the kind of top tier side of things, but it's a very entertaining, very well put together movie. One that's maybe a bit more somber and a bit more serious, but delivers what I want, which is a lot of heart. and delivers it in spades. So 3.5 out of 5 for Cemetery Without Crosses. When I return, I will be telling you what the next review on the Arrow video assortment is, and I'll be doing that and closing out the show right after this. You're listening to the podcast Under the Stairs. And you've been listening to the podcast Under the Stairs. This has been your Sunday Arrow video assortment series of reviews, episode number 33, looking at Cemeteries Without Crosses from 1969. Join me in 3 weeks' time as we continue with a screener that just came in that I'm bumping to the front. Very much looking forward to this. We're going to be doing a little bit of pick and pa, and a brand new release that I was just put out, and a fucking handsome edition if ever there was one. We'll be doing Major Dundee, starring Charlton Heston and Richard Harris. Let me give you some of the information about this movie. The screen stretches to new horizons to tell the epic story of the Southwest. After making his first bona fide classic in Ride the High Country, director Sam Peckinpah took a step towards the epic with Major Dundee. The film would, in many ways, define the rest of his career both on and off screen, as the drama behind the camera matched the action in front of it. Charlton Heston stars as Major Amos Dundee, a vainglorious Union cavalry officer, struggling to read that there, who mounts an expedition to hunt down Apache war chief Sierra Chariba. Once again, apologies. Building his own army of criminals, ex-slaves and Confederate POWs, among them one Captain Ben Tyreen, played by Richard Harris, whose intense former friendship with Dundee is tainted with a sense of betrayal on both sides. Dundee heads into Mexico, his eye fixed firmly on the last shot of greatness. Beautifully shot and with stellar supporting cast including James Coburn, Warren Oates and L.Q. Jones, Major Dundee remains a stunning achievement and an essential experience for anyone interested in the life and cinema of Bloody Sam. This film is presented in two cuts, the original theatrical version and the extended version, along with a wealth of illuminating extras. This is a 2-disc limited edition Blu-ray, which has a 136-minute extended version of the film from a 4K scan, as well as the original 122 minutes theatrical version, a 60-page booklet bound with the new writings by Farron Nemi, Roderick Keith and Jeremy Carr. Limited edition packing featuring newly commissioned artwork by Tony Stella, and a fold-out poster featuring original and newly commissioned artwork by Tony Stella. On the disc 1, you have a high-definition Blu-ray 1080p presentation from a 4K scan by Sony Pictures, DTS HD ME 5.1 surround sound with a new score by Christopher Caliando, a lossless original mono audio with the original score by Danielle Amfitheatroff, I think that's how you pronounce that. Original English subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing, audio commentary with Nick Redman, David Werrell, Garner Simmons and Paul Sador. An audio commentary by historian critic Glenn Erickson and Alan K. Rode. An audio commentary by historian and critic Glenn Erickson. Moby Dick on Horseback, a brand new visual essay by David Cairns. Passion and Poetry, The Dundee Odyssey, a feature-length documentary about the making of Major Dundee by Mike Siegel, featuring James Coburn, Senta Berger, Mario Adroff, L.Q. Jones, R.J. Armstrong and Gordon Dawson. Passion and Poetry, Peckinpah Anecdotes. 9 actors talk about working with the legendary director Sam Peckinpah, featuring Chris Christopherson, Ernest Borgnine, James Coburn, David Warner, Ali McGraw, L.Q. Jones, Bob Hoskins, R.J. Armstrong and Elsa Vega. Mike Siegel, about a passion and a poetry project, in which the filmmaker Mike Siegel talks about the beginnings of his ongoing historical project about director Sam Peckinpah. An animated stills gallery featuring rare on-set, behind-the-scenes and marking materials, and a 2005 re-release trailer. The second disc has the theatrical version, and it's a limited edition exclusive. You have the high definition Blu-ray 1080p presentation from a 2K scan, original lossless mono audio, optional English subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing, Riding for the Fall, a vintage behind the scenes featurette about the stunts of Major Dundee, extended and deleted scenes, silent outtakes, select extended deleted scenes and outtakes with the commentary by historian and critic Glenn Erickson giving context to how they were intended to appear in Peckinpah's vision of the film, and the original US, UK and German theatrical trailers. This one is absolutely packed. It's, I mean, for a movie that I know very little about, I'm very excited to watch it because it's probably the best version of this movie that'll ever be released. So yeah, episode number 34 coming to you real soon. 3 weeks time we'll be looking at Sam Peckinpah's Major Dundee. There's a multitude of ways to check out the show. Wherever you listen to us right now, hit subscribe. That way you get the shows as and when they drop and access to the entire back catalogue of Teapot's content. But don't stop there. I want you to go and subscribe to that Teapot's Collective where you get shows like Opera Omnia, Doing the Nasty, Where to Begin With and Chronicle. Subscribing to both those feeds is the best way to support what I do under the stairs. You can also jump across and check out our website. It's teapotscast.com. Links to all the shows are there, as well as our booze-based banter entertainment podcast featuring myself, the Baz and Scotland Liam vs Evil. That show is called Jaws is Shite and Other Regrettable Outbursts. We are on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/teapotscast for the podcast Under the Stairs, facebook.com/teapotscast for the Teapots Collective, and for Jaws is Shite and Other Regrettable Outbursts, that is facebook.com/groups/regrettable pod. Reach out and interact with myself and the Baz on the twin prongs of social media sexiness. Instagram and Twitter both can be followed at TeapotsCast. The podcast Under the Stairs returns tomorrow with the return 14-month layoff for Andy Love's Art House. We are looking at Censor, a brand new horror movie out right now in the States and about to be released in the UK, set during the video nasties. Very much looking forward to getting down and dirty with Andy Blockley and bringing you the spoils of that show. But until then, wherever you are, whatever the time zone is and whatever you're up to in this big bad world of ours, please take care of yourselves out there. This is Duncan McLeish broadcasting live from Under the Stairs and I am signing off.